Trump is trying to bring down the crime rate in D.C. I think this is likely connected to the 250th birthday celebration for the country next year. He wants D.C. to look its best. And on CNN, they now are comparing him to Batman. Listen.
Let's get right to what America's talking about. Donald Trump makes himself Batman, and the nation's capital is Gotham City. The president of the United States has declared himself crime fighter in chief, and he's taking over Washington's police force. It is a move that the D.C. mayor is calling unsettling and unprecedented.
This is what I voted for. Trump as Batman cleaning up Gotham City. In all seriousness, D.C., and I lived there for 4 years, has way too high of a violent crime rate. And I am in favor of driving it down as low as we possibly can, and then potentially using this as a pilot program so we can drive down crime in Memphis, in St. Louis, in Chicago, in so many different cities out there, Kansas City, where when you look at the data, my home city of Nashville if necessary, there are far too many people being murdered. I didn't expect that anybody would come after me for my absolutely innocuous, maybe the least controversial opinion that I have ever shared in the history of my life. I said something really, really simple. I said, hey, I want there to be less murders in the United States, in Washington, D.C., and in other cities. And as a result, I got attacked by Media Matters, which according to the New York Times is close to going bankrupt. And one reason they're going bankrupt is because they have no actual audience. And in fact, the audience they do have is alienated. And so here was what Media Matters wrote. OutKick's Clay Travis. Federal takeover of D.C. should be a test case for whether we can go into other cities. This is their headline. And then it follows, these are the quotes. What reasonable person is upset because the president of the United States is going to try to keep less American citizens from being murdered? I mean, this is the easiest. 100% of people should be in favor of this. President's marshaling all the resources in what should be a crown jewel of the entire United States to try and make sure far fewer people are murdered every single month, every single year. That's what I said on Fox News. And then I continued. I would like D.C., I was on with Harris Faulkner, to be a test case for whether we can go into other cities where far too many people are being murdered and help to drive down the violent crime rate there as well. I think lax bail laws, not putting bad guys in jail, is why these crime rates are continuing, and I think we should drive them down precipitously everywhere. It should be a goal that everybody is behind. Thank you for writing up my opinions. Is this a controversial take? Is it remotely controversial to say, hey, I want there to be less murders in the country, and I think anything the president can do to help make that happen is a good thing? This is how broken in general Democrat ideas are, that they're so reflexively anti-Trump that even decisions that Trump is making that are unmistakably the right decision are attacked. I got attacked yesterday on MSNBC. Maybe we need to clip this. We played it on Clay and Buck for saying that I wanted there to be less murders in Washington, D.C. And that if Trump were able to deliver less murders in Washington, D.C. as a result of there being more security, that I think we should apply the same lessons and also activate the same guardsmen in St. Louis and Kansas City and Memphis and many other cities out there with extraordinarily high per capita homicide rates. We should drive it all down. I can't believe that that was considered controversial, but thank you, Media Matters, for writing up what I consider to be the least controversial take that I have ever had. Joe Scarborough, I want to give him credit, is on MSNBC. And I have ripped Joe Scarborough a lot because during the Biden administration, Joe Scarborough proved that he had no gag reflex by his ability to tell you that Joe Biden was the best Biden that he had ever been. But this morning on Morning Joe, Joe Scarborough said 91% of D.C. residents, Washington, D.C. residents, believe crime is bad, and over 50% of them believe it is an incredibly significant problem. Let's listen to Joe Scarborough actually tell the MSNBC audience something they need to hear, the truth.
The Washington Post took a poll in late April, early May. 91% of Washington residents say crime is a problem. 91%. 51%, it is an extremely serious problem. And John Heilman, we've had people before put this in racial terms. And this is, I must say, this is one thing that I think Democrats have gotten so wrong about crime. So wrong about crime. Let me just read the Washington Post here. There are stark divides among the lines of race and income in the poll, with black residents and lower income residents significantly more worried about crime than white residents and those with higher incomes. As they were last year, black women are among the most concerned, with 65% saying crime is a very or extremely serious issue, compared with 82% who said the same thing.
Yeah, I didn't ever think I'd say it, but Joe Scarborough's right. And also, think about this. What if Trump is right and violent crime comes down substantially? Trump was 100% right about the border. He said, if we do these things, we can essentially end illegal border crossings. He came into office. He put those policies in place, and no one talks about the border anymore. It is the most secure it has probably ever been in any of our lives. Worst case scenario, Trump does all these things in D.C. and nothing changes. What if Trump comes into D.C. and suddenly everything gets better? What if he cuts violent crime by 50%? What if we have a border-like result in Washington, D.C., where something that was a huge problem that looked insurmountable is suddenly solved? Wouldn't that be incredible? And all we're doing is saying, hey, we know how to fix what is a problem, something that 91% of D.C. residents find to be an issue, including taking care of morons like this. Guy was out screaming at D.C. police, calling them fascists. Turns out he was a Department of Justice employee. You want to talk about the deep state? And play this video. He's screaming at a police officer, and he decides he's going to throw his Subway sandwich at him. He's now facing felony assault charges. Pam Bondi has fired him from the Department of Justice. And here you can watch as he is there, throws the Subway, foot-long sub, takes off. He's got the pink shirt there, running away. They have figured out who he was. They have arrested him. And he's now lost his job. And I think this is just what you have to do. If you assault a police officer, you should be arrested. I've watched way too many videos over the years of people throwing things at police officers and nothing happening to them. And yes, as I said for years, that includes people who assaulted police officers on January 6th. You shouldn't be able to throw anything at a police officer. You shouldn't be able to spit at them. You shouldn't be able to do anything of any kind of violent nature at all, in my opinion, to police officers. And I like the message that's being sent there from Judge Jeanine and from Pam Bondi and from President Trump and everybody that is fired up about all of this ridiculousness.